Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks, where I talk about, the rest of the week that was in pro wrestling. And I'm going to be talking about Impact Wrestling Emergance and AEW All In, which I think I'm going to save that for last. So sit back, relax, grab yourself your favorite beverage, and let's do this. And we're, of course, going to start out with Impact Wrestling Emergence. We start off with a nice tribute to Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk. May you two rest in peace. Including a 10-bell salute. Very nice. And, of course, we start off with a no disqualification match as Diener takes on Eric Young. Now, Diener has Khan in his corner, and considering it's no DQ, he can get involved. And that is pretty much what happened right off the bat. Ladders are used. A staple gun was used in between the I hate stuff like that. And we had plenty of chairs. At one point, EY handcuffs Khan to the outside turnbuckle. So it's just one-on-one for a bit. Eventually, Khan does break out and breaks up a potential pinfall. Then after a Death Valley driver into the pile driver onto a barbed wire covered board, your winner, Eric Young. And honestly, that was a pretty dang good opening match. Very energetic and a lot of fun. And I do hope this whole design versus EY thing is done and we can get something else with EY. Next up, we got an interview with Joya. That is the new name for Joe Hendry and Yuya Mamura. And Joe talks about his travels throughout this company, and it's been a long road, but I cannot go solo for long. That's why I teamed up with Yuya. And then Yuya grabs the mic. Can I get a Joya? And the interviewer obliges him. This is going to be a fun tag team. I am definitely interested. So yeah, we'll see what it goes. Next, we see Taylor Wilde has been taken out backstage, and Santino Morales trying to conduct an interview, seeing who took her out. No one really knows. So Kylan King needs a tag team partner for the match. Who does he put in there? Jody Threat, who Kylan King theorizes took out Taylor Wilde. But we'll see about that in the next coming weeks as we get to the Knockouts Tag Title match, and it's a fatal 4-way as MK Ultra, that's Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich, take on the Shaw Taraj, which is Giselle Shaw and Savannah Evans, Kylan King and Jody Threat, and the Death Dolls, that's Courtney Rush and Jessica. This match definitely takes a little bit to start off, but as soon as the blind tags start flowing, it's pretty much chaos from the get-go, including a few choke slams from Evans, which I hope they push her a little more. Courtney Rush near the end with a huge blue thunder bomb, which I thought was going to pick up the win. And after a dual pile driver-like move, I don't know what they officially call the finisher, but your winners, still Women's Tag Team Champions, MK Ultra, which, good on them. Hopefully they have a decent reign with the tag titles, and we get some worthy tag teams to step up to them. Not to say these teams weren't worthy. We then get a very entertaining vignette of Johnny Swinger as he's getting ready for his digital media title match. We then get a very interesting interview. We start off with getting the usual Johnny Swinger shtick, talking like it's still the olden days. But then he turns, he gets serious. And he tells the interviewer, look, this is my only shot. And I'm taking it. And I'm winning the strap tonight, baby. And so, yeah. I don't know how, but that got me to root for Johnny Swinger. And then we go right into the next match, which is for the digital media title, as Kenny King takes on Johnny Swinger. And at first, Swinger's trying to slow down the match a little bit, rolling to the outside, taking his time to get in. Kenny King then turns things up a notch. It's a sick-looking suplex. And then Sheldon Jean gets up on the apron to distract the ref, and that's when the feed for me went black. It didn't go for a super long time, but then out of nowhere, we see the ref get taken out. Heath comes in, hits a huge wake-up call on Kenny King, but that's only a 2 count. And then we see the Royal Flush, where your winner, still digital media champion, Kenny King. That was honestly Johnny Swinger's best match in the modern era. I don't think I've ever seen any of his older stuff. Well, I've seen him in ECW, teaming with Simon Diamond, that's a very interesting team. Honestly, I think I'm going to go take a look back at some old Johnny Swinger matches, because why not? Post-match, King and Gene continue the beatdown on Swinger. Out comes security, including Tommy Dreamer making his on-screen return. They're trying to get King and Gene off of Swinger. Then King attacks Dreamer while Sheldon Jean is holding security back, in which, no offense, I don't think Sheldon Jean would be able to do something like that. But whatever. They then go backstage. Then we get an interesting promo by the babyface team in the 8-man semi-main event. It's Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, Kushida, and Josh Alexander. Sabin talking about how he wants to get his hands on Leo Rush. Finally, Shelley looking to take out Bully Ray and Moose. And Josh Alexander pretty much saying, look, I've been ready for this for a while. I'm happy to be back. And let's go to Kushida, who, short and sweet, pretty much says, tonight, we kick your butt. Which, I love Kushida. I don't know if you can tell. But, yeah, nice little promo to set up the semi-main event. Next up, the Impact Tag Team titles are on the line as the Rascals challenge Subculture. And honestly, this was... You know what this kind of felt like? This felt like when the Motor City Machine Guns took on Generation Me, aka the Young Bucks. And that was one of my favorite feuds of the year. They did like Full Metal Mayhem and stuff. This felt like step one to that. Like, these four worked incredibly well together. Of course, Rascals using the spray paint more than a couple times. Once it does not work, eventually they all fight to the outside. Coming up the ramp is the ABC to distract the refs, and the Good Hands attack them from behind. And then Danny Luna goes up top, takes out all four of those guys. So It does look like we're going to get a Four Corners match at some point, which I'm cool with. And then after a 619, a big old stomp, and a facebuster, your winners and new Impact Tag Team Champions, the Rascals. And you know what? I'm going to say this. I really enjoyed Subculture's reign. They've been defending these titles all over the place. And as sad as I am that they didn't get a more lengthy reign, I think the Rascals kind of deserve it a little bit more, because in their previous iteration with Dez, now called, I'm sorry, I forget his ring name in NXT, they gotten like 6 shots and never won the tag team titles, so I'm pretty okay with them winning them here. But overall, fantastic match. I'm going to give it a big old must-watch seal of approval. And now we got the babyface 4-man squad promo. We now go to the heels. And you got Bully Ray and Moose asking Leo, do you have what it takes? Do you really want to be here? And Leo Rush pretty much reiterates, look, I'm pretty happy here. As like I said, once this is done, I'm done with you guys. And I'm going solo. But for now, let's go out there and win one. We then get to see the 2 main eventers going in tonight, warming up. That's Purrazzo and Trinity. That should be an interesting one. Next up, a very, very cinematic match, which honestly very interesting. It's Eddie Edwards versus Frankie Kazarian, and they're fighting in their old training grounds, the Killer Kowalski Wrestling School, in which, some of the early shots before the match were actually really cool. You had Frankie put a signed picture of Killer Kowalski on like a desk. Then Eddie walks by it, picks it up, takes a look at it. He doesn't take it, but that's going to play into something a little later. Before the match starts, they kind of jaw at each other a little bit, talking about their teachings. And Frankie takes a cheap shot pretty much right off the bat. They both get in the ring. Bell rings. Pretty okay match. I would have liked to see a little bit of a crowd, even if it's just the trainees. Because this was, as a match, it was okay. Good little back and forth between one another. They use multiple rings at one point, which is interesting. Kaz goes for the chicken wing at one point. Eddie Edwards gets out of it. Then all of a sudden we hear the not so dulcet tones of Alicia Edwards. She comes in, she starts drawing at Kaz, which distracts him into a big old Boston knee party by Eddie Edwards to pick up the victory. Now, post-match, Kaz is in the main lobby. He's looking at the picture again. Then Alicia Edwards, from out of nowhere, big old kendo stick shot to the body. And then Eddie Edwards picks up the photo and smashes it over Kaz's head. So, I'm thinking this feud isn't over just yet, and maybe we'll see Tracy Brooks come back. Next up, a kind of out of nowhere match that ultimately I was pretty hyped for. It's current IWGP World Champion Sonata making his Impact return. He was there from 2011 to 2012, where he was the Great Sonata. He also won the X Division title, and he was in the group with James Storm and Abyss. Which, that was a weird combination of characters. Let me tell you. And his opponent tonight, the recently returned Jake something. And honestly, this was a nice little clash of styles. You had Jake something being the powerhouse, while Sonata, maybe not the nimble X Division style guy he was in the past, but he has grown exponentially in style over the past couple of years in New Japan. And honestly, this was a great little back and forth. Sonata with a big old shining wizard near the end tries for a deadfall. That gets blocked. Jake something goes for into the void. That gets countered. Sonata hits deadfall to pick up the victory. And post-match, they take a look at one another. They shake hands. Nice little respect and sportsmanship. I do hope Sonata sticks around for a little bit, because he's fantastic, man. He is so good. And honestly, despite what some people just say, I think he's a very worthy World Heavyweight Champion. Anyway, that's it from me for that. We now go into our semi-main event. It is an 8-man tag team match, playa. As Time Machine, that's Kushida, Alex Shelley, and Chris Sabin, team with Josh Alexander to take on the team of Bully Ray, Moose, Brian Myers, and Leo Rush. And, it starts out really quick with Sabin and Rush. A lot of near falls, a lot of good tags. At one point, Alex Shelley hits a big old boot on Chris Sabin accidentally, which, a little dissension in the ranks for Motor City Machine Guns. Maybe not a bad idea. Alexander goes for the C4 spike, but that gets countered. At one point, everyone is out on the outside, including the ref. And Moose is just powerbombing dudes through tables. He then spies Josh Alexander in the middle of the ring. They go at it for a little bit. And this brings out... and then Bully Ray gets involved. He starts the beatdown. And then lights go out. Lights come back on. It's PCO. Ready to get his revenge. He starts brawling with Bully Ray. Goes to hit a choke slam through the table ringside. That gets blocked by Bully Ray's opponents. They hit a triple powerbomb through that table. But Moose immediately sits up. Takes out Moose and Myers. And brawls to the outside with Bully Ray. Josh Alexander tries to get involved. But who should make their return? It's Steve Macklin. Steve Macklin is back. He takes out Josh Alexander's leg. And after a big old spear to Alex Shelley, your winners, Moose, Brian Myers, Leo Rush, and Bully Ray. So that keeps them in the world title picture. And we're going to see what happens with Shelley and Sabin. We then get a vignette of the return of Jordan Grace, whose contract recently expired, but now she's coming back, which big win. Then Gail Kim comes out for commentary for our main event for Emergance, and it's for the Knockouts title, as Trinity defends against Deonna Purrazzo. And honestly, I couldn't think of more worthy dance partners. They absolutely tore it up. Purrazzo with the more technical skill, although not to say Trinity isn't technical, but she's more high-paced, kind of X Division-ish star. Match comes to an end via the Code Red right into the Starstruck submission for the Trinity victory and retention. But Impact has one more surprise up their sleeve. Because at Bound for Glory, we're getting the Impact return of the current IWGP United Kingdom champion, Will Ospreay. Which, that's a big old get for Impact Wrestling. And I can't wait to see who he's going to wrestle. Could you imagine if it would be Kenny Omega? That'd be something else. Anyway, that's it from Emergence. We now go to the big one. AEW All In from Wembley Stadium in London, England. Ooh, and oh boy. 81,000 people in the arena. That's freaking awesome. And we start out. I'm going to talk a little bit about the pre-show. We have MJF and Adam Cole winning the Ring of Honor Tag Team titles from Aussie Open, which, personally, I didn't see that coming, but I'm kind of okay with it. Like, they already proved they can coexist. Now, what are they going to do in the main event, which should be interesting. The other match that happened on the pre-show was for the FTW title. It's Jungle Boy Jack Berry against Hook, and Hook pretty much picks up the easy victory. And before I forget, we have Jeff Jarrett coming down, talking down on the England crowd with the rest of his crew. Who should come down? Paul White, Anthony Agano, and surprise, surprise, they absolutely did it. They brought in Grado. And if you don't know Grado, he's big on the UK scene. He's maybe not the best wrestler, but he's extremely entertaining. If you find some matches from him, or even just his entrances, are so great. He comes down. They all brawl with the heels. He gets Jeff Jarrett's guitar and gets some comeuppance, which, that's very cool. Can't wait to see what goes on next. Hopefully, All In 2, or All In 3 at this point, we get that match. Book it, Tony Khan. And we kick off our main show with the Real World's Champion, CM Punk, defending against Samoa Joe. And oh boy, they hit each other really hard, including Samoa Joe kind of not really powerbombing, but like spinning CM Punk into the bottom of the announce table, which that's a little nutty. At multiple points, Samoa Joe goes for the Muscle Buster, but that gets countered. At no point did Punk go for a GTS, which, that's interesting. Instead, voting to finish the match with the Pepsi Plunge, which, that's definitely a move I haven't seen in a while. And he picks up the victory. Next match up, we got a 6-man tag team match player as the Golden Elite. That's Kota Ibushi, Kenny Omega, and Hangman Adam Page take on Bullet Club Gold. That's Juice Robinson and Jay White, and Konosuke Takeshita, who is, currently in a feud with Kenny. Honestly, this was pretty much a love letter to Kenny Omega. He really showed out in this match, although his interactions with Jay White were really, really good. And also with Takeshita, who was pretty much a thorn in Omega's side the entire match. Kota Ibushi looked really, really solid in this one. a lot more than blood and guts, which he looked a little awkward. Now that the rust's off, he's feeling a bit more like Kota Ibushi. But your match wins after a missed V-trigger, a roll-up. Your winners, Bullet Club Gold and Konosuke Takeshita, in which I believe for All Out this coming weekend, we're going to get Takeshita versus Omega one-on-one, which I wouldn't say no to. Next up, for the AEW Tag Team titles, it is the third match in the trilogy. You got the Young Bucks, the Challengers, challenging FTR. And ooh, boy, this was an awesome match. I think this was one of my matches of the night. Lots of good back and forth. At one point, FTR hit the BTE trigger, which that popped me really good. The big rig was blocked more than a couple times, as was the Meltzer driver. Eventually, FTR does hit the Shatter Machine for the victory. And still, Tag Team Champions, FTR. Post-match, FTR go to shake the Young Bucks' hands, and the Young Bucks just shake them off and leave the ring. So, does that mean the Bucks are going back to being heels? Because, not gonna lie, I think that would be more interesting. Next up was complete and utter freaking chaos. It's Stadium Stampede. You have the Blackpool Combat Club. That's Claudio Castagnoli, Jon Moxley, and Wheeler Yuta, teaming up with Santana and Ortiz, who recently came back to AEW after a hiatus, as they take on Pentagon Jr., Eddie Kingston, Orange Cassidy, and best friends Trent Beretta and Chuck Taylor. And honestly, this match went a mile a minute. I really couldn't keep up with everything. At one point, Claudio and Eddie fight up to the royal seats of the royal family, which that's absolutely hilarious. They go in the box, and Eddie gets powerbombed onto a bar top, which, yikes. Eventually, a fork does get involved, and Moxley starts just jabbing at Cassidy. Like, at one point, everyone is on the ramp, except for Penta, who got escorted to the back. Looked like an injury angle, but we'll see in a minute. And as Susan rolls up in a brand new van, and she has her tray of cookies, Moxley goes and kisses her, which, no, don't do that, Mox. And then Trent grabs the cookie sheet and starts wailing on everybody. Eventually, Penta does come back out, although he's in his Penta Obscuro gimmick, which, okay, gimmick change mid-match, why not? Near the end, you have Orange Cassidy taping his hand because he has thrown so many orange punches, but the sticky side is on the outside. So then he gets a bucket and a big old bottle of glass, starts crushing it so that the pieces are stuck to the tape, goes for an orange punch, that misses. The Paradigm Shift on Eddie Kingston gets blocked. Eventually, big old orange punch right to Moxley. So your winners, best friends, Penta Obscuro, Orange Cassidy, and Eddie Kingston. In what was a wild and crazy match. It's not like the first Stadium Stampede in Jacksonville, but this was absolutely nutty. I would have liked to see him fight on the train system down there. That would have been hilarious. Although, I got a little story about that in a little bit. Next up, Four Corners match for the AEW Women's title. You got Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, taking on Saraya, Toni Storm, and the champion Hikaru Shida. And honestly, right off the bat, the Outcast members go at it against one another. And Saraya actually brought out her family for her entrance, which, if you've ever seen Fighting With My Family, you've pretty much seen Saraya's family. Her mother was actually a wrestler back in the day, so that's pretty darn cool. At one point, Saraya's mom on the outside has Dr. Baker all wrapped up. Toni Storm was going to go hit her, misses, hits Saraya's mom, and you see Saraya up in the ring. She's like, oh, she snapped. And she starts going after Toni Storm, just left, right, and center. Eventually, Ruby Soho comes out after Toni Storm has Saraya down. She tries to talk Toni Storm down, but Toni Storm whips her out of the way. Soho then, with a big old smack to Toni Storm, she leaves. And then Saraya gets back up, hits a spray to the eyes, a nightcap for your winner, and new AEW Women's Champion, Saraya. And then, of course, from ringside, you have Saraya's family getting in the ring and helping her celebrate. Which, nice little moment for Saraya. A bit predictable, and I do wish this match went on a little bit longer, but overall, solid matchup. Next up, the craziness doesn't stop, as it's a coffin tag team match, playa, where the only way to win is to put one of your opponents, I honestly thought it would have been both, into a coffin. So you have Swerve Strickland teaming with Christian Cage. It was originally AR Fox, but apparently there's something going on there. Won't go super into that, but he got replaced by Christian Cage as they take on Darby Allin and Sting. And it gets good right off the bat, including Stinger using a cricket bat in place of his usual black bat. And, of course, at all points, they're trying to get the coffin lid closed, and they get stopped, whether it's by a regular baseball bat or Sting's knee, which, ooh, that looks like it hurt. Eventually, Luchasaurus gets in. He breaks, stops the casket from getting closed. Nick Wayne then hits Luchasaurus with a skateboard. Luchasaurus hits a choke slam on him and just bodies him to the back. Eventually, Sting and Darby get Swerve in the coffin, and of course, Darby Allin hits the coffin drop to close the lid. Although, if you do see the replay, you see Swerve's hair sticking out. So, technically a win for Darby and Sting, but I wouldn't hate if Swerve disputes this. I think that could be an interesting story. And then, hey, maybe we get Swerve versus Sting one-on-one at some point. Next match up. And don't worry, we're almost done. We got Chris Jericho taking on Will Ospreay. And honestly, I know a lot of people were poo-pooing this match because, oh, it's not the same Jericho. Jericho brought it tonight. Like, Jericho brought his A game tonight in Wembley. But sadly, Will Ospreay also brought his A game, hitting Jericho with a hitting blade to the face and then a Stormbreaker to pick up the victory. So we'll see where Ospreay goes from there. It is being reported that his contract with New Japan is up pretty soon. So we'll see where he ends up. And we go to our semi-main event of the evening, and it's for the AEW Trios titles. As the House of Black, who have some nice white entrance clothes, and Buddy Matthews comes out with a little lantern. Oh, that got me, man. That got me. And they take on the Acclaimed, and not Daddy Ass, but the Ass Man himself, Billy Gunn. So, kind of a gimmick change, but whatever. This wasn't a normal tag match. This was a tornado tag, so no tags in. Everyone was getting involved. Action pretty much everywhere. Match comes to a finish after a famouser, an arrival, and a mic drop. And your winners and new Trios Tag Team Champions, the Acclaimed. Acclaimed are, of course, ex-Tag Team Champions. So this is adding to their legacy a little bit. And getting Billy Gunn, who's been in wrestling for years now, a title in 2023. Which, that is absolutely nutty to think about. So, congratulations to the Acclaimed. And fine, Alamo, our main event of the evening for the AEW World Heavyweight title. You got Adam Cole, baby, taking on MJF. And, oh boy, these two guys went at it like honestly, they were real rivals. Actually, to start off, they went outside the ring, put on their Better Than You Baby shirts, which, you know, honestly, I thought we'd see them turn. Eventually, Cole takes off MJF's shirts, just starts beating him down a little bit more. And then they call for the double clothesline. They hit it on one another. They both go down. Apparently, they both are laying on each other. So we have a double pin. So that technically the match should be thrown out. But, and then that would mean MJF would retain his title. However, Adam Cole gets the mic. Pretty much says 5 more minutes. And a callback to their original match a few months ago, in which Adam Cole asked the same thing. MJF takes the mic, pretty much says, no, 5 minutes isn't enough. We're going to go until there's a definitive winner. And they keep going at it. Eventually, Roderick Strong comes out, hits a low blow on MJF. Adam Cole hits a Panama Sunrise and a boom for a 2 count. Roddy is telling him to do it. Finish him off. Cole is holding the title belt. Looks like he's gonna... Oh, he's conflicted. Tosses it to the outside, which leads to a roll-up for the MJF victory. And honestly, this was an interesting way to go for me for AEW. I would have liked to see a more definitive win, but you know, we still have a story to tell. Now, post-match, we have MJF, Adam Cole in the corner. He's kind of really upset. MJF goes out of the ring, grabs the Ring of Honor tag team titles, pretty much says, we still got these, buddy. We still got these. It's all okay. And then Adam Cole tosses him out of the ring. MJF sees this and pretty much says, oh, is that what this is about? It was never about us being friends. It was always about this title. Well, here, you can take it. And then he turns his back to Cole, spread arms. Do what you gotta do, Cole. Roderick Strong comes back out. He's saying like, do it, Cole. Do it. Hit him. Coast looking like that. He's still so conflicted. But he couldn't go through with it. So he gives MJF the title back. And they hug. And honestly, definitely an unexpected finish. I definitely thought Adam Cole would be turning on MJF. But overall, I'm interested to see where this story goes. Alright, that's my review for Emergence and All In. I hope you guys all enjoyed. Tomorrow, I'm going to be giving my predictions for this coming weekend, which is pretty big as well. We got WWE Payback for Saturday. We got All Out on Sunday. And again on Sunday, we have MLW Fury Road. I completely forgot about that one. Anyway, honestly, should be a very fun weekend. I hope you guys join me for that. And until next time, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.